An afternoon that is otherwise known as Monday, May the 7th, 1989, and it could be interesting because I forgot to bring my glasses with me to work today, so I can see virtually nothing. Unbelievable. 2 years ago, I did not need glasses. Today, I am in deep trouble if I forget them. Anything within 5 feet of me, I can barely see. But that's neither here nor there. You didn't come to listen to my problems about glasses. You probably wanted to hear about my problems with my shoulder and, of course, the gas that I've been experiencing in the morning. But you'll just have to wait until somebody asks me how I'm doing, and then we can talk about that. One or two very brief things on my mind before we get down to business today. Is there really anybody, I mean anybody, one miserable living soul that cares about what musical selection is used to wake up the astronauts in the morning? Then why in God's name do they insist upon playing it for us and telling us, well, this morning they played the marching band song from Tacubaya College in West Paducah? Like, who cares? Like, frankly, who cares about the whole damn thing up there, you know what I mean? Just people don't want to admit that they don't really care. Why are the Democrats missing out on the opportunity of a lifetime to stand head and shoulders above the Republicans by bailing out on Jim Wright? Unbelievable. And now what I really came to talk to you about. For the last number of years, I've spoken with considerable passion and some real understanding, I thought, about a problem that we have in this country, and that problem is housing, affordable housing. And I thought I knew what the hell I was talking about. Well, we have finally decided to buy a house, okay? We have finally decided to buy a house, in all probability. And I am getting the experience of a lifetime. I am learning things that I did not know. I am in such a deep state of depression, and I'm not kidding you, that I hardly know whether to turn right or left. I don't think there's anything else I could possibly talk about today. You guys talk about whatever you want. But insofar as I'm concerned, I don't think there's anything else I could possibly talk about except the cost of housing. There's a little house about 4 or 5 blocks away from where I live. Granted, it's on one of the nicer streets. It's a half a block off of Bayshore, and it really is one of the nicer streets. I can't deny that. And this is one of these Florida bungalows. Okay, it has been extensively upgraded, but not enlarged, just extensively upgraded. So it's basically, we're talking about a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. Two-car detached garage. Beautifully landscaped property. I mean, beautifully. This house, I saw this house while we were out bicycling one night, and I've not been able to think about anything else. And I basically said to Mary, I don't care what it takes. I want that house. Fortunately, it's for sale. We called up this morning to find out how much it was. We're talking about, in essence, a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. $299,000. If I had $299,000, I wouldn't spend it on that house. If I had $100,000 to put down, I couldn't afford that house. I can't afford a $200,000 mortgage. I earn something in the neighborhood of 5 times the average wage and just barely qualify for the average new house. This is driving me insane. I don't want to live in Brandon. I don't want to live in Pinellas County. I cannot afford my own neighborhood. I can afford to rent there, but I can't afford to buy there. There's a house directly behind mine that's nowhere near the house that I just told you about for $299. It's $239,000. The house that I'm in, it amounts to a 1-room house. It's one of these California contemporary deals. You know, where you first walk in and you go, oh my God, this is really a neat house. But after about 1.5 years of living in it, you know, you can't deal with too much more of it. I mean, it's a steal. It's only 150. It's about 1,200 square feet. And it, in essence, is a 1-room house. Yesterday, I was sitting there going through a magazine that we subscribe to, Country Living, Country something or other. It has a little real estate section in it. There's a house in there. Wooden frame house. One of just thousands, tens of thousands along the New Jersey shore. I'm very familiar with the type of house. I'm familiar with the town that it's in. The caption reads, just blocks from the shore, or from the ocean. $600,000 for what amounts to a weekend or summer house. I don't know where people come up with that kind of money. I am stunned. I cannot begin to imagine how a family, a young family, can afford anything in the way of a decent house. Another house I was looking at, quite away from town. About 2,100 square feet. 3 bedrooms. $165,000 out in the middle of nowhere. I don't understand. I don't know how you're supposed to do it. I'm baffled. I wonder what in the name of God is going to become of this community, of this country, when only a handful of people can afford, quote-unquote, decent housing. Yeah, are there houses out there for 30, 40, 50 grand? Yes, there are. Like, damned if I'm going to put myself in that kind of a neighborhood. I'll be damned if I'm going to put myself in that kind of a house. What are we going to do? We can't go on this way. And this is insanity. $300,000 for a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom house? With an enclosed porch? And a lot of nice plants in the backyard? That's what it amounts to. Great street? Sure. But $300,000? I know times change. But when I was a kid, people with high school educations weren't expected to earn $300,000 in a lifetime. People with college educations, with luck, were expected to earn something in the neighborhood of $350,000 to $400,000 in a lifetime. I know times change, and the dollars are different than they were back then, and so forth and so on. We were talking about taking my raise, I just signed a new contract, and setting it aside for housing. I can't begin to tell you how many years it would take to take that raise and put it away to the point where we could afford a down payment sufficient enough for a mortgage that we could live with on that 2-bedroom, 1-bath house. I mean, it's half a lifetime. Unreal. Just absolutely unreal. So that's what's on my mind this afternoon. I can't begin to imagine what's on yours. I'll give you the telephone numbers anyway. 990-9352 in Hillsborough, 461-9352 in Pinellas. I don't know what now you can possibly do about it. I don't know if you're going through the same thing I'm going through. But I thought it was bad. I firmly believed in my heart that it was bad. And now I know just how bad it really is. Trying to buy a house, starting from scratch without $1.5 tons of money from a previous real estate deal or from mom and dad or whatever it might be. It's a very, very scary proposition. An extremely scary proposition. Or if there are other things that you wanted to talk about, I suppose, I'm in such a state of shock you could probably even get around me this afternoon. Much easier than normal. So again, 990-9352 in Hillsborough, 461-9352 in Pinellas. Tampa, you're on the air at 970 WFLA. Hi, Tampa.
Good afternoon, Robert.
Hi.
Let me explain to you the south side market, which is what you're looking at.
Well, you don't have to explain it to me. I know the answer.
Right.
It's going to cost me $100,000 more to live there.
It's going to cost you more than $100,000, but it's also...
No, I said $100,000 more to live there.
No, and what I'm saying is it's going to cost you more than $100,000 to live there. But what you also have to take into account is if, let's say, you could buy the house for $260,000, In a year and a half, it's going to be worth probably over $300.
To who, sir? I mean, at some point we run out of people.
You're right.
You know, we're talking about the greater fool theory here, and I think that the guy that's got this 2-bedroom, 1-bath house thinks that there's still one more fool out there.
Well,
I'll be damned if it's me.
2 years ago, homes on the south side that were selling for $100 are now selling for $300. That has not happened anywhere else.
But to who? How many people are there that can afford a $300,000 home?
There are a lot of people out there, obviously, because they are selling for those numbers, and it's reality. It is happening, so there are people buying it.
How much money do you need to qualify to put? Let's say put down 1/3 on a $300,000 house. How much of an income do you need to qualify for a $200,000 mortgage?
If you're putting down 1/3. You don't have to qualify at all. If you put over 20% down on a house, you don't have to qualify as long as you have money in the bank and your credit is
How
good.
much does the bank feel comfortable? How much of an income is the bank going to want you to have in order to be able to make your payments?
On a $200,000 mortgage, they're going to feel comfortable with your principal and interest payment not exceeding 28% of your gross income.
So in other words,
your gross monthly income.
So they're going to want you to have an income, probably of something in the neighborhood of $10,000.
$10,000 a month for a $200,000 mortgage. Well, for a $200,000 mortgage, you're probably talking about $2,300 a month principal and interest, depending on what that is, and $2,300 times a.
Okay, so they're probably going to want you to have more like around a $12,000 or a $13,000 gross monthly income.
Oh, no, not at all. Because if you have a $9,000 gross monthly income and you multiply that by 28%, you're looking at $2,500.
Okay.
So at $9,000, you can afford almost a $230,000 mortgage payment.
Well, how many people do you think there are running around with $100,000 annual incomes?
Oh, there are a lot, okay? But that is the south side. If you were to come to the north end, which is a very nice area.
Oh, sure, just a nice 2.5-hour commute to Carrollwood every day.
No, that's not true, and you know it. It's maybe 45 minutes at the worst when
Each way?
Huh?
Each way, and it's not at the worst.
It is at the worst. At the worst, it's 45 minutes when traffic is bad. Have you driven it?
Okay, so an hour and a half a day?
An hour and a half a day. You know, there's people moving down from the south that drive an hour each day, and they don't care, they don't mind, and when they come down, they say, look, I'm driving an hour now, as long as I don't have to drive an hour. You know, you tell them 45 minutes, and they're like, oh, that's no problem. And the truth is, 45 minutes to and from work, that's not a long drive. It's really not, if you think about it.
Oh, isn't it? I see. Well,
no,
it is in my book.
It really is not, and it's not so terrible for most people to have a 45-minute drive to unwind. And, you know, how do you unwind in traffic? Well, it's not so horrible. You know, it's not...
Oh, yeah, driving up and down Dale Mabry is one of my favorite pastimes for unwinding.
Once they
whenever my nerves are really jittery, I just get in the car and try to drive up and down Dale Mabry.
Well, once they finish it, it will be better. But what I'm saying is for $300,000 on the north end, you can be living in a palace.
I can't afford a $300,000 home.
Well, that's what exactly. But for $150,000,
I can't afford a $200,000 home.
You can afford $150,000, I'm sure.
Just barely.
Okay, well, even for $125,000, $130,000, you can get yourself a beautiful home on the north end.
Yes,
with a pool and maybe even on the golf course.
Of course, but my income is far above the average income. What in the hell is the average slob supposed to do?
What? Now,
if I can barely afford a $150,000 house, and I can barely afford it, thank you. What are people with 3 and 4 kids supposed to do? They really need 3 and 4 bedrooms.
People with 3 and 4 kids, believe it or not, who are earning $30,000 a year and $25,000 a year, they can go out and buy themselves a beautiful home for $70,000 with special bond money, and their mortgage payments are
come on. Yeah, if they're lucky in a lottery.
No, you're wrong.
And also have a damned healthy down payment.
No, you're wrong again, because all it takes is a 3% down payment, and many of these new homes,
how many such homes are available in Hillsborough County this
I don't have numbers, but if you were to...
100?
Oh, more than 100.
200.
Please, hundreds.
500?
At least.
500 at least in a county of damn near 1 million people.
But no, you're missing what I'm saying
here. In a county where half of the people earn $20,000 a year or less.
What I'm saying is...
There's a whopping 500 homes for them, huh?
I'm not saying there's 500. There could be 5,000. I don't know the exact number, but what I am saying is...
Well, I'm telling you it's nowhere near 5,000. It's a hell of a lot closer to 500. It's probably closer to 200.
Well, there is affordable housing out there. you know, you have to find it. It doesn't come jumping at you, but, you know, you're talking about the south side of Tampa, and you can't touch anything on the south side of Tampa unless you're making $200,000 or $300,000 a year.
Yeah, I just found that out this weekend.
Yeah,
it would be tough at $200,000 a year.
And, you know, it's just, it's unbelievable, but, you know, that's the south side. And if you were to go, like I say, to the north end or other places, you will find that you can afford a very nice home.
Right, if I wish to drive an hour and a half, 2 hours a day, and if I wish to put on buku miles on my car so that it is going to run out
okay, now you're talking. Now you're talking as if you want to live in a beautiful neighborhood and you want to be 5 minutes. You want to have it all for $100,000, and you know you got to pay for everything.
$100,000 is a hell of a lot of money.
The national average for homes is like $120,000, I believe.
No, it's closer to $130,000.
Okay, $130,000.
With an average household income in this country of $31,000.
Okay.
Nobody can buy a $130,000 house for $31,000 a year.
That's right.
There's something wrong. That's what I'm saying.
Well, there is.
And you're telling me I'm crazy because I want to live 5 minutes away from work in a decent house for $100,000?
No, I'm telling you you're crazy because you want to live in the best neighborhood in the whole city. You want to be 5 minutes from work, and you want to live there for $150,000. You can't do it.
Oh,
you pay premiums for everything.
Your pardon, sir. I can do it. I do live in a $150,000 house in that neighborhood.
You don't own it.
Well, I can, sir.
You cannot.
But I'm not going to buy a 1,200 square foot house for $150,000.
Right. Well, again, that's
the guy's
the area.
To sell it to me, you know.
That's that area. Then that's not the area that you should be in because it's not what you can afford, and you need to go where you can afford to be.
Are you a licensed real estate broker?
Yes.
I would have suspected as much because it's just going right over your head what I'm talking about.
No, it's
not. The lack of affordable housing, sir. The problem is not that I can't buy a $300,000 house for $100,000 in South Tampa. The problem is, sir, is that the average new house costs 4 times what the average family makes.
It appreciates tremendously.
Well, sometimes it goes down too, sir.
Beg your pardon?
Sometimes it goes down too. You seem to be a little young and probably haven't read very much about the 1920s,
no, Bob,
30s, and
Bob,
40s.
The real reason, admit it, the real reason is your job is so unstable that you're unwilling to commit to this investment because you might have to pop here or there or go wherever you want to go.
I've been in this business for almost 19 years. Instability is, it's a fact of life with me.
Right, but admit it. Don't, try to say that real estate's a bad investment. Gee, how can, the other guy said,
sir,
you buy something down there, it's going to go up.
Sir, I don't believe I said that real estate is a bad investment.
You just did.
No, I said I don't have any faith in it.
Oh, so by not having any faith in it, it's not good.
Sir, as an investment, I do not consider it at this point in the game, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, yeah. At this point in the game, I don't consider real estate an investment.
Okay.
I'm just sick and tired of not being able to paint a wall orange if I want to, and I'm sick and tired of not being able to move the plants around if I want to, and I'm sick and tired of not being able to put a pool in the backyard if I want to. That's the point I've reached in my life, okay? But as a young punk, out at USF who thinks he's going to try to wise-ass around Lassiter, I'm sure you can't begin to comprehend anything of what I've just said.
Well, young man, I'm older than you are, and I bought a house in Fort Myers for $30,000 20 years ago, and it's now $190,000.
So what?
So?
So what?
You're stupid.
Oh, I'm stupid, I see. You lucked out and I'm stupid.
No, you're just trying to profess that you know everything and that
I'm not trying to
have
profess,
no faith
sir,
in...
I think it's the other way around. You're the one who's trying to profess as though you know something. I'm telling you that there simply are not enough people in this... Oh, now he's going to hang up. Well, that's okay. Now you can sit there and listen in misery. I'm telling you there are not enough people in this country who earn the kind of money where you can go out and now buy a $300,000 two-bedroom house and consider it to be an investment. I mean, my God, if you want an investment that's going to return something decent on your money, then you'd be looking for about 10% a year, right? So that $300,000 house becomes a $400,000 house in 3 years? Who in the hell has the money, sir? How many people are out there? We're not talking investments, sir. We're talking a place to live. Tampa, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
The last guy, Bob, you're entirely right, knocking them down. Ask everybody out in Brandon who's got their houses on the market who aren't going to make one nickel, or the people out in Carrollwood who aren't going to make one nickel.
A lot of people in Carrollwood are going to lose nickels.
Darn right. And the first guy who was calling talking about bond money, let's say 8.5% on a $60,000 house, that's still $500 a month. That's $2,000 after taxes a month. Who the hell's making that kind of money?
Well, there are a lot of people who are, but just it's not an indefinite...
I'm talking about the average Joe.
Well, yeah, and also somebody that can qualify for the bonds.
Darn right.
It's not a bottomless pit. There's at some point, the whole thing collapses. But nonetheless, I still want to buy a house.
Well, if you really want to be sick, we're bidding on a house. I work for a general contractor out in Avila. $8.5 million. Now, there's something wrong.
I'll bet it has more than 2 bedrooms and 1 bath.
Actually, it only has 5 bedrooms, but it's got about 20 baths, an indoor basketball court, racquetball court, movie theater. It's absurd. I mean, I open the plans and I look at it and I want to cry. It's beyond belief. And no one can afford anything on the south side of town.
Well, again, we were looking at this house.
Hey, I live in your neighborhood, Bob.
Well, this wasn't in the neighborhood, but it was about 2,100 square feet. And 2,100 square feet, and we have no children. We're not going to have any children. It's just us and the long-eared beast. But 2,100 square feet was not that outrageous. Yeah, it was a little roomy, but damn it, I'm tired of bumping my elbows into the wall every time I get up from my chair. And I sit back and I wonder, what do people with 3 and 4 kids do? Try to cram themselves into 1,200 or 1,300 square feet of house.
Right. Where you live now, I live in that area, too, and I have to rent as well. And I make a decent wage, and for me to want to stay in that area, I have to rent.
Yeah, it's hopeless otherwise.
There's just no way I can afford to buy.
I can buy my house and then, in essence, increase my monthly nut about 50%.
Exactly.
And I'm paying more now than I care to put out every month. It's a scary amount of money.
I got a house, the house I'm renting right now, built in 1920. There's no way I want to buy that house because I'd have to gut it and do what everybody else is doing and then turn around. And for me to live there with a mortgage, the damn thing would be $180,000.
At least, hey, the house that I was talking. Well, the house that I was talking about is about a 1920.
Yeah.
Just one of those classic Florida cottages or bungalows, call it whatever you want, with a nice big wide front porch. They're actually a good-looking little house.
Yeah. The house I'm in, if fixed up a little, would be a beautiful home. But the owner isn't going to do that because he's sitting on a gold mine.
Well, the lots in that neighborhood are basically $75,000 and up for the most part.
Exactly.
Especially on the east side of McDill for sure.
Right.
And then most of the lots have some kind of a dinky house on it, so throw in another $20,000, $30,000, throw in another $5,000 or $10,000 to bulldoze the damn thing down and cart the stuff away. It's just insanity.
All right, well, the house lots over on the other side, Palmacia side, $55,000. Figure if a builder goes in, he's going to charge 3.5, 4 times his lot price. You're at $200,000.
Plus your impact fee too.
Well,
if you buy your own
figure all
lot.
that in. It's unbelievable.
It really is.
And here's a city who's got all kinds of property in Ybor City. Granted, it isn't the best place. In Ybor City, I'm talking about south of the expressway, that could do something decent for this town. And what are they going to do with that property?
Well, I guess we'll just keep on, reclaiming pasture land further and further and further and further and further out.
Yeah, but have you heard the latest idea is to put a circle on the map, and anything beyond that, the developer's going to have to eat every single penny of developing anything, and who the heck is going to get the money passed on down to them? The developer? The consumer, of course.
Interesting, isn't it? It gets to be more and more and more of a nightmare. My friend, I've got to run.
Okay, Bob.
Thank you very much for the input.
Sure thing.
2 lines available, 1 in each county, 990-9352 in Hillsborough, 461-9352 in Pinellas.
Get ready for good times.
Of coincidences, talking about buying new houses, one of the major things with buying a new house is getting financing. And wouldn't you know it, I happen to have a client who specializes in just such a thing, Town & Country Mortgage and Investment Corporation. And with taking the smile off my face and becoming very serious about it. Town & Country is more than just, take that back, 1 line available in each county. 990-9352 in Hillsborough, 461-9352 in Pinellas. Clearwater, hi, Clear. You're on the air at 970 WFLA.
How you doing, Bob?
Fine, thanks.
I got your name right. I called you Dave last week, if you remember.
Okay.
Oh, well, I am 26. My wife is 25. Both went to college. Both professional. She's a research editor, and I'm a manager of a pool company.
Mm-hmm.
It's next best thing. It's my father's. I drive a company truck. Her vehicle is paid for. We have American Express that's paid for every month, and the only other credit card we have is Spiegel. So everything, we don't have any debts to pay.
Mm-hmm.
And making almost combined of $40,000, we find it very hard to get what we want, especially at the prices. Now, you know, like I fly.
And you're one-third over the national average.
And what gets me is that, like you say, if I'm one-third over the national average, and I find myself not making that much money, there must be a hell of a lot of poor people out there to make it so low.
Well,
to bounce it off.
And we're talking about national average. If you bring it down to Florida, I believe the median household income in the state of Florida is something more in the neighborhood of $25,000. It might be $1,000 or $2 plus or minus, but
right.
It's in that general ballpark. So you're, almost now you're approaching like close to 40-50%.
Well, like your first call, one of your first callers got up there saying, well, if you buy the house now, next year it's going to be worth another, whatever, 40, 50 grand. But the thing is, I don't think that was your point. You see, like me, I want an investment, yes. I want equity, yes. But I don't plan to be selling my house next year. I want to buy a house. I want to be secure. I want to stay there for 10, 15 years until I move on.
Well, if $300,000 is laughable for the house that I was talking about today, and it is,
yes.
$400,000 is really laughable.
Now, I'm over here in Clearwater, and what I'm doing is I got a book, those books, No Money Down or How to Buy Houses and all that. So I'm looking for an assumable.
Mm-hmm.
Fastest way to get into a house, it seems like, with low down payment and everything else. So I go to a realtor and say, look, okay, and they want their 7%. They say, well, it comes out of the seller. Well, really, both pay for it. Both the seller and the buyer pay for the commission of the real estate broker. But if it's something I really want, but I go up to them saying, look, I've got few and far between. I'm renting a condo now, and it's on I've been there for a year, and it's month to month, so I can stay there as long as I want. So I want those deals few and far between. I want low down, high assumable, and everything else. And I say, if I really like it, I don't care if you get your full commission, as long as I like it and I can afford it. But they don't come, hey, Greg, I got something for you. Why don't you take a look at it? They don't say that. So it's like they want their money on a big house. And
well, then what's the problem if you're offering to give it to them?
Excuse me?
What's the problem if you're offering to give? Now you're starting to talk about things that I have no personal experience at.
Right. I don't know. Maybe I'm not. Maybe because one tried to sell me tried to say buy this house. I didn't like it. There was nothing wrong with it, but I didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I guess I got turned off because I was being picky. But hey, I'm going to be the one spending all that money. And so basically what I found is that on assumable, if you find out what's left on the payment of the assumable, say it's an $80,000 house, figure 10%, so figure payments are $800. And then whatever the person wants in the difference, the value of the house, maybe he can carry the mortgage, or you can get a loan on, just say it was 80 when he bought it, and he wants $100,000 for it now. You can knock him down. That's what he's asking for. You knock him down to 20, say to 15, and maybe you get a loan on the 15. But then you got to be able to afford both mortgage payments. The first one, assuming the mortgage, and the second one to him or to the bank.
Well, that's another thing that's been driving me crazy too. They talk about this 28% of gross. Hey, well, that's all fine and well if that's what the bank's willing to let me get by with. I have no intention of spending 28% of my gross. That's just way too much money.
I'm
not comfortable with that.
I agree.
Plus taxes, plus, the new roof, plus...
insurance?
Right, on and on and on. Now we're talking 35-40% of my gross. That's insanity.
Bob, I know your area. That's the type of place where I take drives with my wife at night after we spend an evening in Tampa, along Bayshore there. That's a very nice... That's the ones we look at. That's the ones we look at the house and say, dear, that's what we can never afford, okay? Unless we win the lottery next Saturday.
Well, damn it. My wife said this to me, and I have to admit it. It's killing me because I can't afford it.
Yeah.
I have reached a point in my life where I'm supposed to be comfortable, and I am.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely killing me that I can't afford a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house.
I know. And the thing is I want to get... we saw this one house we could afford, but it was smaller than our condo. And I was like, no, if we're going to move, we got to move up. We can't go smaller. I agree with you. I mean, there's lots I like to do with the condo, but I can't, you know, because I'm thinking it's not mine. It's not mine.
I just can't plunk out an extra $100,000 for an address. It's
I
crazy.
mean, what was it? There was one house I saw in the paper. They were asking 135, and you assume a non-qualifying assume of 126. Okay, so he's not even asking 10 grand difference. I mean, if I could afford $1,200 a month payments, I could have walked into the house, no problem, if I put something down on it also.
When they talk about a non-qualifying assumable, do they really mean that?
Well, from what I hear, they do, but I mean, okay, what I do is when I see a house, okay, I just drive in the neighborhood I want. I see house for sale by owner.
I decided to buy a house. I have bought one in my life. I bought it in Naples when I first arrived at Florida. I was thinking about that driving in today. It amounted to was one of those cinder block slab deals, just slightly over 1,000 square feet. I paid $69,000 for the turkey. Bailed out of it in less than a year and I only lost $700. I considered myself to be very, very lucky. But it's not what I'm looking for this time around. Not at all what I'm looking for. This time I'm looking for a home, not just a house. And my God, I don't know how I'm going to deal with it. Please, whatever you do, don't venture very far. I'm back 11 minutes after the hour, 4 o'clock, Monday, May the 7th, 1989. Judging from the telephones, we have struck a chord here. But that is Muffy and I, are not the only people going insane trying to find affordable housing in reasonable neighborhoods. Back to the phones we go. Hi, Clearwater, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hey, Bob. One of the things that I think we need to keep in mind that it's not the realtor, it's not the seller that sets the price, it's the marketplace. You know, everybody'd like to live on the bayfront, but not everybody's got the scratch to be able to do it.
Well, obviously you're not telling any of us anything that we don't know. It's just that at what point do you reach a saturation point? At what point does it become just unbelievably unreasonable?
Well, let me ask you this. What's unreasonable?
Well, I think $300,000 for a two-bedroom house is.
Well, apparently it's not because they've got it on the market for that, so you chisel them down to $280.
I think that's unreasonable. I think $150 is unreasonable for that house.
Well, what do you want? Subsidized housing?
Don't be a smart-ass.
I'm not being a smart-ass.
I'm not in the mood for it.
Let me ask you this. Have you considered the tax benefits of owning? I mean, you get all your interest as a deduction. You get your real estate taxes. You get all that stuff as a deduction.
Well, I appreciate that.
And, I really feel you're being short-sighted as you usually are. And personally, I'm glad to hear that you're renting.
Oh, great.
Because you're getting no benefits.
Yeah. Is that about it?
Well, I tell you, it could happen.
You see, I was living under the misguided assumption, sir, that you had some kind of interest in what is a very real problem, not just for Bob Lassiter, but for a lot of other people. Get off my phone, you miserable subhuman pig. You're one of the people that probably came down here from up north and drove prices up with your wild speculation. Carol Woods, you're on the air at 970 WFLA. Hello, Carol. Oh, Carol, we crapped out at the last possible moment. What are you going to do? Two lines open in Hillsborough, 990-9352-990 WFLA. Carol, if you're listening, you missed by 1/10 of a second. Palm Harbor. Palm, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Good afternoon, Bob. How you doing?
Fine, thanks.
In regards to a couple of calls back there, gentlemen, about the non-qualifying mortgage. They are out there. They're FHA and VA, because I just bought a house after I filed bankruptcy, and what it is, you go in and it's a closing table, and they add $45 to your closing. They don't check your credit. They don't check anything about you, except for that you know how to sign your name.
So, in other words, basically the seller is still responsible.
Yeah, unless the seller executes a release agreement with you, whether it be the FHA or the VA. And the other thing is, there are a lot of properties out there. Unfortunately, you won't find any assumables in your market range that you're looking at. Excuse me. But there are a lot of government-owned homes out there. The government owns like 100,000 of them. And they are available if people know how to go about getting them. And with good interest rates and very, very little down. It's just, you go through the realtor situation, and they don't give you all the good ones. The government doesn't publish all the good ones, but they are out there, because we have one right around the corner from us now. We'll go up probably within 6 weeks, and you'll be able to walk in and put 5% down. You have it's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a built-in pool, and you'll pay $90,000 with 1,700 square feet, and the only thing is you're going to have a decent mortgage payment of maybe $800-900 a month, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the only problem there. If you can swing that, then you've got it made. You don't have to come up with the big bucks.
Well, it was just such a shock to me. My neighborhood is a funky neighborhood, okay? There are $3 million homes and there are $50,000 homes, and sometimes they're right next to each other.
Right.
And I just did not, I guess I was just a very naive young man here, I did not believe what those houses in between were worth.
Yeah,
or going for. I don't think they're worth it, but that's what they're going for.
I do some real estate appraisals from time to time because I'm a licensed real estate broker. And I do some over in the Hyde Park and the Palmacia, and I'll tell you what's going on over there. It's just sick. It really is sick because I don't know how the average guy who makes $40,000-50,000, has 2 kids, can afford to live there.
Hey, the average guy ain't making 40 or 50 a year.
Well, that's true too.
The guy that's making 50 a year is in the top 5% in this country.
Yeah. So the average guy, was he making $25,000-30,000?
Yep.
Give or take. He's got to live in a $50,000 home at best. You know, $60,000. And what are you going to get? A cheese box.
And he's going to spend 35-40% of his income to do it.
Yeah, he's going to struggle from week to week to make it.
How the hell is he supposed to buy new shoes? How the hell is he supposed to send kids to college or replace the dryer when it burns out?
Yeah, it's true. Everything's upside down. Everything's upside down. I feel sorry for everybody. I was lucky, you know, because I found something, you know, and I went out. It was a low assumable, but I put on a second mortgage. My payment's $800 a month, but I was paying $700 for rental.
I truly don't want a $250,000 house or a $500,000 house. If I can afford it, I don't want it. It's too much.
Well, not when you're just going to sleep in it, per se, and entertain once in a while.
Right, you know, and cut the grass for 12 hours a week. And,
That's right.
Constantly painting and replacing this and replacing that. I just want a nice, decent little house, but I'd like it in a nice neighborhood, but it's impossible.
Yeah, it really is. Really is.
Unreal.
Have a good one, Bob. Good luck.
Thank you.
Right, bye-bye.
One line open. It's in Pinellas, 461-9352. Land O'Lakes. Hi there, Land. You're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Good afternoon there, Bob.
Hi.
My wife and I bought a house out in Land O'Lakes because, you know, we just couldn't afford the prices they have in Tampa. And I don't mind the commute at all. But I put it on the market. It's 14 months old. It's valued at $91,000, so it's appraised at. You know, I put it on the market for sale by owner, and I asked $84,000 for it and couldn't sell it. I mean,
Unreal.
the house is 14 months old. I mean,
why did you want out of it so soon, by the way?
Well, my company wants me to transfer over to Orlando.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, I could sell it for $80,000, you know, because I got a good deal on it because my father-in-law and I, we both built it. So we could, you know, I could sell it, but you know, it's appraised at $91,000. I was asking $84,500 and couldn't sell it.
Well, you know, I'll be honest with you. I've got a client, not quite far out as Land O'Lakes, but in Pasco County, southern Pasco County, beautiful area, genuinely, truly is. But I don't want to commute that far. I can understand other people not wanting to commute that far. It's just too much for me. But,
yeah. You know, my hours that I work, you know, it's fine for me because I leave before all the traffic gets started and I come home. Matter of fact, I'm almost home now.
But I'm hearing more and more stories about people living 30, 40, 50 minutes away from downtown Tampa who are having a tough time getting their money back, let alone making these great profits in real estate.
Well, I just want to let you know, I had mine on the market and I couldn't sell it, so, you know, I just got mad at the for sale by owner. So I went back to the realtor company, you know, so if I got to pay the commission, I got to pay it, but, you know, because I got to transfer it, you know.
Well, good luck.
Okay, Bob. Talk to you later.
Bye-bye. One line open. It's in Hillsborough, 990-9352. Tampa. Hi, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hey, Bob. How you doing?
Oh, reasonable.
Reasonable. I first, you know, I wanted to discuss the assumable mortgages.
Mm-hmm.
I've got one. First, I want to say I've been extremely lucky to get what I've got.
Well, let me ask you, you assumed a mortgage or you have a mortgage that somebody else can assume?
It's a non-qualifying assumable, the one the gentleman, a caller two before mentioned. What it basically came to is we had to pay off, we had to pay the previous owner their equity, and aside from that, there was no qualifying, no banks to go through. We just had to pay a $45 transfer fee, and we also did a title search, which was I believe about $400 that we did to make sure that they didn't have any liens against it.
Well, you'd do that on any house, though, wouldn't you?
Yeah, you don't have to. At least with the non-qualifying, you don't. But it's the smart thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I think it's about $800, but we split it with the previous owner, so it was like 4 apiece. But it's like a $70,000 house, and it's 9.5% fixed. Payments are like $560. But we only had to pay $3,000 down to the previous owner, which was incredibly cheap. But the area, the house is like 2 years old, nice area. It's in the city of Temple Terrace. And I don't know, I'm not calling it gloat, but I guess I'm saying there's some out there for people. You have to do your homework and have to be at the right place at the right time.
Well, sure, it's like anything in life. It certainly doesn't hurt to do either. But we can't all be at the right place at the right time.
No, we can't. That's why I said I actually feel very fortunate that I got what I got, because I only make, my verifiable income is only around a little less than $10,000 a year. And I would never have qualified for even a $30,000 house, probably.
I don't know how you get anybody to rent to you for for a verifiable income like that.
Right. And it's, that's why I say if people in my situation, the $5 an hour people and that type of thing, a non-qualifying, as long as you got a little money, that's the best way to go, because they're out there. A lot of them are starter homes. This really wouldn't probably fit in that category, but there are those in starter areas where you can get them, pretty readily.
Thank you much, my young friend.
Okay, take care.
You too. One line open. It's in Hillsborough. Well, speaking of our own non-qualifying, Gary McHenry with the bronze washboard of a stomach and the dangerous, lovelorn air patrol thing.
How are you, Bob?
Hey, Gary, I missed you all weekend. Didn't get a chance to talk to you?
No, it was kind of rough not seeing you over the weekend, buddy.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I was a little forlorn, but hey, I feel better now.
You're a little what?
Forlorn.
Forlorn.
I was a little forlorn.
Oh, forlorn.
Yeah. Northbound Dale Mabry, run around Hudson Lane. We had an earlier problem there. Should be wrapping up. Apparently a three-car collision. Had been blocking a good part of one traffic lane headed.
It breaks my heart a lot of times. I'm in real estate. I'm not a realtor, but all these people that do come in that want to buy new homes, and I have to see them. I have to be the one to tell them that they don't qualify before they even talk to a mortgage is really difficult to do, and there's a combination of reasons. It's not just one per se, but it's I'm sorry you're going through this now.
Well, I'm just going through the reality of prices, I guess, is what I'm really, the reality of prices and coming to an understanding that I may not be able to live where I want to live. And that galls the hell out of me.
Yeah. Well, the one point I would like to make is that the one gentleman that said about doing your homework, that's how I found my house in South Tampa, was by spending months just driving up and down the streets and looking for sale by owners and so on. And again, who has time to do it? But that's only one way. But then again, qualifying for mortgage with the rates doing what they're doing is quite difficult too.
Well, right, now it's what, right around 11%.
Between 10 3/4 and 11%.
Which is pretty stiff.
And, everybody got excited about the bond money, but what people didn't mention is the bond money gives you a maximum of anywhere between $29,000 and $32,000 worth of income, which is not too bad, but throw a car payment and a couple of credit cards in that, and you've lost that also.
Yeah, how about that new living room set and the washer and the dryer, too?
Oh, forget it. You're washing your clothes and hanging them on the line for months.
And how many of these bond dwellings are available?
Well, they're not for particular homes. They're for particular people. It's almost like a lottery system, first come, first served.
How many are available, though, total?
Well, it depends. The price can go up to, a new home can go up to about $78,000 to $80,000.
We're misconnecting here. How many individuals will they deal with?
Okay, they had about $14 million worth of bond money, and there's probably about $4 million left. So they go by the amount, so they don't go by individual homes.
Okay, $14 million, so if we're dealing
sales price at $80,000.
Okay, let's round it out here to 100 to make it easier to do the math. That would be 10 per million, 140, so maybe 175?
Yeah, that's about what they had this time.
Unreal. That's not very much for an area this size.
No, well, that's not at all. And they've even taken some of that and made it for low-income people. So about 25% of that is strictly for low-income people, which will probably never get used because those people, no offense intended, but can't qualify because they don't have the income to qualify.
Exactly. Couldn't afford the mortgage payment if they got the mortgage.
Exactly. And the mortgage restrictions are not really tough for them. But when you say you can only make such an amount of money to qualify, And, I mean, everybody has a car. Luckily, some people pay them off, but that's not the norm.
Hey, but if you're only bringing home $1,200-1,300 a month, you can't very well put out $500 or $600 a month for a mortgage payment, plus taxes, plus insurance, and on and on.
And even with your tax benefits, which I was trying to figure some of them out for people, you can get about $180 back per month, but what good does that do you if you can't afford to buy the house? So your tax benefits mean nothing.
Thank you, my young friend.
Have a good day, sir.
You too. One line available. It's in Hillsborough, 990-9352. Don Richard standing by at the WFLA News Desk, clearly the second most popular newscast.
Associates run a computer printout of houses from 100. We came up with a run of 17 homes. Now, this is all in Pinellas County, mind you, but 17 homes that fit those parameters.
Okay, read off one or two of them to me.
Okay, well, there's one up on Arrowhead in northeast St. Pete, 1,700 square feet for $122,900. The largest one on this list is on 31st Terrace North, which is up in the mid-north location, with 2,074 square feet. That's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And, there's a lot of details that aren't on this particular report, but we can virtually put your needs and wants into the computer and come out with a list of homes that might suit your needs.
Okay, when you talk about owner financing, what do you mean?
Well, it doesn't say on this particular report, Bob. I'd have to go to each individual listing and find out what the needs of the owners are. What this means is that each listing has included some sort of owner financing with it.
Which could be anywhere from 5% to 100%.
Well, normally not 100%, Bob. We try to urge owners when they're taking owner financing to offer it at between 10 and 20% down. If they really want to effect a quick sale, this is another way to sell a property quicker, is by offering owner financing.
Well, I can easily come up with 75-80% financing. Can you easily come up with 15 to 20% in the owner financing?
That would take more computer work, but I'm sure there are some nice homes out there. For example, I own a home that has recently been a rental. This is in North St. Pete, and
when we gave up smoking, $175 to $200 a month in and month out, we spent on those miserable cigarettes. I don't know, most households, that's a pretty damn significant amount of money. We noticed it. We noticed it in mine. Maybe you could notice it in yours, too. Dr. Robert Sobel is the man that helped me save the $200 a month. His program that he calls Quit for Life works. It's a no-nonsense approach, 2 one-hour sessions, 1 week apart. Total cost $39.50. One hell of an investment. Let me give you the telephone number if I can see this one. 787-5530, 787-5530. Dr. Robert Sobel, Quit for Life. And save a few bucks in the process, too. To the phones again we go. Pinellas Park. Hi, Pinellas. You're on the air at 970 WFLA. Hi.
I make bring home about $1,100 a month, and I want to let you know what happens down at this end of the wage spectrum. I bought a house, my first house, about a year ago, and was looking around, found one that was listed for about $28,000. Was able to talk them down to $24,000. Thought I had a good deal, because it's close to my income, and made a down payment on it. Looked for financing, found out couldn't find a single lender that would lend under $30,000. They just said there's not enough money in it for us to even be bothered. Ended up, to avoid losing my down payment, I had to take an 18% interest mortgage, interest-only 5-year balloon.
That's literally a negative mortgage, is it not? I mean, it accumulates instead of...
Well, no, it's just that my payment every month is basically interest. About $1 goes to principal. And since that time now, I found one lender who will lend under $30,000. And I plan on refinancing sometime, coming up in the future.
Oh, that's terrible. Oh, my God.
But, I thought I was doing a good thing by bringing the price down closer to my income. I should have been talking them up in price. And I just couldn't believe it. It was my first home that I ever bought. Maybe I was a little naive, but I was so shocked that no one would lend under that amount. So you're really penalized if you're too poor.
Yeah, well, that seems to be the whole damn problem. The market only seems to be for the very wealthy, for the people who don't really have to worry that much about the mortgage. The people who are looking for the tax advantages, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Not that we all don't have tax advantages, we do.
Well, that was one of my considerations, and why I wanted to purchase a house instead of continuing to rent the rest of my life.
Right, I'm not looking for an investment. I'm looking for a roof over my head, like most people are.
Exactly, and I was also looking for something that no matter what happens, if I had to wash dishes for a living, I could still afford my home.
Well, there again, the business I'm in, that's one of our main considerations. Would we be able to save the house if something went wrong and we both had to go out and work at the Circle K?
Well, I'll tell you, it seems there's no way. If you're low income, you might as well hang it up because, if you do find a mortgage, like I said, I'm paying 18% interest, which I can't believe that anyone could sleep at night that would give that kind of mortgage.
No, I think the word for that is usury.
Well,
that's not a nice word.
That's what I called it in private, but I wouldn't say it to the lender, but that's what they charge.
You're right. How the hell can you sleep with yourself doing that to some poor human being? Unreal.
Well, they do it, and I just wanted to make you aware of it in case you didn't know what happens down to the people who are only bringing home $1,000, $1,100 a month.
Well, the guy's probably the one that lives in that two-bedroom, one-bath, $300,000 house that I'm drooling over, the guy that's charging 18%. How the hell else could you afford it?
Well, that's apparently where the money comes from, is from private, retired people who want to put their money someplace and take advantage of young people. That's the way I look at it.
Thank you, my young friend.
Bye-bye.
Take care. 990-9352 in Hillsborough, 461-9352 in Pinellas. Don't venture very far.
Need 20% down or $18,000 to buy a $90,000 home.
Well, it all depends on how much of your income you want to, put out every month.
That's correct, but that's part of the problem is that Americans are being taught more and more in the self-gratification society to live beyond their means. You can't continually buy. As soon as people get out of high school...
Man, the problem is not Americans living beyond their means. One of the problems that we have today is Americans not being able to afford a home because of their means.
Well, I don't think that that's true. I want to point out why
Ma'am, $17,000 is the average wage in the state of Florida. How much is the average house in the state of Florida?
Bob, I have people that I finance $17,000 as an average wage for a person in annual income in Florida. I have people come in our office at least 3 or 4 a month. When each individual, some of them, they have 2 or 3 children. The husband makes $15,000 a year as a maintenance worker. The wife makes maybe $12,000. That's not even $28,000 a year in income. Mm-hmm. And they have afforded to buy a home and to support 2 or 3 children. The reason they're able to is because they're buying homes that are $40,000 to $50,000. They have been able to establish a payment history on small credit accounts over the years.
Man, there's not a doubt in my mind that what you're saying is true, but the fact of the matter is there are damn few, if indeed any, new housing developments going up in this area with $40,000 and $50,000 homes.
People don't
We're running out of $40,000 and $50,000 homes.
God, there's a glut of new homes in this market, and many of them are in the $40,000 to $50,000 range.
Well, funny, none of them were advertised in the paper this weekend that I saw.
People aren't looking in the right areas in the classified ads. There's
classified ads I was looking in, man.
There are seller finance properties in that range all over where people ask $3,000 to $5,000 down. They don't even qualify the borrower if they have the down payment. And they're offering 30-year fixed mortgages at 12.5%.
What kind of neighborhoods are these homes in?
Well, I sold one 4 days ago. I closed on a house I had out south of MacDill Air Force Base. Mm-hmm. It was a $52,000 house. The people put $3,000 down. I gave them a $49,000...
In other words, at the end of the runway.
No, it was near the base.
I live in that neighborhood. It's the end of the runway.
It is on Wallace Avenue, just south of Gandy Boulevard. It's a decent neighborhood.
Yeah, if you don't mind planes flying overhead all day long.
Bob, everybody can't have an idealistic home that's $500,000.
Living at the end of the runway, ma'am, is not being, not idealistic.
You have to live within your means. But before a person can afford...
No, ma'am, we have to have housing for the means of the people that isn't at the end of the runway.
Bob.
Or next to a dump.
Wherever they're building homes, and there are plenty of houses on the market here that are affordable to people if they will stop spending on credit cards and new cars, and they will start putting money away so they can have a decent down payment.
And be willing to live at the end of the runway for 40 or 50 grand.
Look, we can take houses that aren't at the end of the runway. I can pick up ones off of Armenia Avenue that are nice homes that are in the $35,000 to $50,000 range. Those people can move into a house that has 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and pay less per month to own that home than they would renting a 2-bedroom apartment.
But what block in Armenia? Right around Kennedy, maybe?
No, 2 blocks south of Waters Avenue on West High Avenue. Sold a house there for $48,000. The people put $3,000 down in that house. It has 3 bedrooms, 1.5 bathrooms. Okay? Their monthly payment is $465, principal and interest. I gave them a 30-year private financing at 12% and never even pulled a credit report. And those deals are out there if people will look for them.
Still a lot of money, lady.
$3,000?
No, $460-something a month plus taxes, plus insurance, plus. At 12%, that's a lot of money for a lot of people.
$465 is not a great deal of money if you look at what it costs to rent an apartment.
When you're only bringing in $250, $300, it's a lot of money.
You need, not if you are living in a manner that you can afford. If you've got a house payment and $160, $180 a month car payment, and all you have other than that is your living expenses.
$180 a month car payment, huh?
Yeah. The people that buy those houses from us are driving affordable cars, Hyundais, Chevettes, Dodge Darts. Maybe they're not BMWs, but their transportation is something they can afford.
Nobody suggested they should be driving BMWs.
Exactly.
As a matter of fact, they shouldn't be driving Hyundais.
Well, my point is that I think that people don't save enough and they don't pay enough attention to establishing credit history so that they can get decent interest rates when they go to buy a home.
Well, even a decent interest rate, if you're only making $12,000, $17,000, $15,000 a year, even a great credit rating isn't going to help you.
With a 2-income household, which is the majority these days, $25,000 a year can get you a $40,000 or $50,000 home.
Yeah, as well as 3 kids without a mother.
I just wanted to make
living at the end of the runway.
West High Avenue is not at the end of the runway, and the point is, everybody doesn't have to live in Palma Seca.
No,
or
they
Davis
don't, man.
Island, for that matter, but they can have a roof over their head if they would discipline themselves to save some money and not to put everything on plastic.
Right, and pay 12% to live at the end of the runway.
Whatever. Thank you.
Thank you. 990-9352 in Hillsborough, 461-9352 in Pinellas. Problem is the Pinellas lines are full. The Hillsborough lines half full. So, let's give the Hillsborough numbers again. We ain't no fools. 990-9352, 990-WFLA. Gary McHenry, who, of course, is always complaining bitterly to me about my being late, is not ready. That's the problem. That's why I keep giving you the telephone numbers, because there's not enough time to take another call. Then Gary would really complain. But no, Gary's up there. What's he? Let me look over here across. Yeah, oh, there he is. He's chatting with old Mark Larson on the other side of the hall. Gab. Meanwhile, I'm over here tap dancing, don't know what to do. Oh, dum waiting for Gary McHenry to finish chatting with Mark Larson over there at Z93. Like we don't pay him enough money over here, he's got to moonlight at Z93. Sure. What's he do with all of this money? He ain't spending it on foxes, that's for sure. And he ain't spending it on Yahtzee. So what does he do with all this money? Why does this man need 2 jobs?
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Gar. It's 5/21/13.
I was ready a minute and a half ago. Stereo was asleep in there.
Oh, Gary.
I was hollering.
I could see you talking to Larson.
You can't even see an index card in front of your face. Don't give me that.
No, I can see 30 feet away. You're right. I can't see an index card in front of my face, but I can see 30 feet away.
Jeez.
There was Gabby.
Are you quite finished?
Well, yeah.
Then introduce me properly.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Gary McHenry with the WFLA Airborne Traffic Report.
Dangerous traffic report.
I'm going to get a little dangerous around here.
Traffic, well, I'll just get right in your face and you won't be able to see me. I'll just punch you right out, buddy.
Oh, yeah, right.
That's what I've been doing, taking karate and boxing lessons with all my money.
Who, from Harris?
Clark and Idlewild in Tampa report of an accident there. Emergency equipment causing more problems.
That end of town feels like it's at the end of the runway.
Well, there are airports all over the place, aren't there?
Right. Considering Culbreth Isles, one of the richest neighborhoods, they're in the line of the Tampa International runway.
Well, I appreciate that. My boss lives even closer to the runway than that, but nonetheless.
Yes.
Nonetheless.
Nonetheless, your point is that there's too many things that's unaffordable for the population of Florida.
And we're just not building those $30,000, $40,000, and $50,000 homes that we desperately need.
Well, okay. Who can afford to build one for that amount? What they have here is they have trailers now. Unfortunately, the market's no longer at a $30,000, $40,000 price range for people to build. The only option is trailers. I'm sorry to say. The rules of the game got changed a long time ago when we went from a service-oriented society down here from a manufacturing one. And Tampa's missed out on the high-tech development, apparently. I mean, them are the jobs that pay. Now, we have a lot of retirees down here. We have a lot of good old boys that do farming and stuff. But there's some things that you keep saying, $17,000, the average wage in Florida. That doesn't take into consideration the retiree who doesn't need the money, that's not out there working. That doesn't take into consideration the people up in Ocala and in the Panhandle that are making less than that. I mean, you go to the metropolitan areas, you're talking about $18,000.
Well, I don't understand what you're saying. It is the average wage.
Okay, it's the average. You're talking about a mean wage. But for the most part, anyone who lives in Tampa is making more than that. I'll agree.
They are?
I'll agree that...
Oh, really?
Yes, really.
Oh, that's interesting.
Okay.
Yeah. Jeez, I know people that work in radio on the air that are just barely making $17 a year.
Okay, I can see that point, but there's...
I know an awful lot of people off the air who are not making anywhere near $17 a year.
Right.
And then I can think of a lot of industries that pay a hell of a lot cheaper than radio.
Right. I'm sure, but how many of these people are just living out on their own trying to give it a go? I think there's too many two-wage earners out there. I mean, there are houses to be had, not in south end of town, but there are houses to be had. It's just I feel...
No, there aren't an awful lot of houses to be had for people earning $17,000 a year.
Right. One person trying to go out there to buy a house...
There are an awful lot of people earning $17,000 a year.
One person trying to go into the market and buy...
Some of those flambe desserts. Calb's Cove. Never stuffy, but always just perfect. 13155 Gulf Boulevard in Madeira Beach. 13155 Gulf Boulevard. The phone number, 393-3448. Accepting reservations from...
From what I see, a $40,000, $50,000 home is similar to what a $13,000 house was 10 years ago.
Well, right, you got to, kind of shoo the chickens out.
Yeah, right. And, everybody really shares, the overall picture is everybody really shares the blame for this. It's greed. Everybody wanting a piece of the pie.
Well, it's greed, and also sometimes it's a little stupidity. For example, if you wanted to build low-cost housing in the city of Tampa, you start out with a $7,000 or $8,000 nut before you do anything.
That's true.
Impact fees.
Let's put this aside. Let's say today, as of today, there isn't much land left. There isn't too many new construction going on. You also have to hold accountable is you and I, the average homeowner, who seems to feel that every year their home is worth $10,000 more than what they, really originally paid for.
Well, it is as long as you got a sucker to pay. It's $10,000 more.
That's true.
That's how that $300,000 house got to be in my neighborhood.
Right. What did you say the price of that house was in the neighborhood?
$299,000 for a classic 1925 Florida bungalow.
That's amazing.
It has, granted, it has been improved. No two ways about it. The landscaping is phenomenal. No two ways about it. But $300,000 for a 2-bedroom, 1-bath house?
Location. Everybody wants to live close to their jobs. Everybody wants to live close to the city.
Gas ain't that expensive.
Well, slowly but surely, I think, lenders are a big part of this problem, too. In essence, what they're going to have to start realizing sooner or later is that they're going to run out of people with good credit and the income that they require for them to qualify for a mortgage. Like you said, the average salary here in Tampa is at least, $17,000 to $20,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And $17,000 to $20,000 a year. I mean, if you own a decent automobile, you're spending about $5,000 a year just in payments, plus the maintenance and the gas.
And insurance, right? Yeah.
And insurance, and
you should have to have 2 of them.
Bob, it's not. Buying a home is sort of a privilege. It's not. I don't think everyone should have the right to buy a home unless there are a lot of people that just don't like paying their bills. There are a lot of people that just aren't responsible enough to own a house. But, if you show the ability, if you see that that person, that individual has a desire to move forward and do better with their lives, then I see it as a crying shame that they don't come up with some way to get people into moderate priced homes where they can afford the payments every month, where they can raise a family, have some nice, decent memories of, living in an apartment. A lot of people like living in an apartment, and, I have nothing against that, but I think most people like to have their little plot of land and their little house, and, I'm all for it. But from what I can see, we all share the blame in it. And I think if people also get a little smarter and realize that, like even now, as soft as the market is, if they use a little creativity, they can beat the system. They can get into a house. They can make it more affordable. Unfortunately, institutional lenders aren't doing that. And it's true what you said. A lot of private investors, or what the other caller said, a lot of private investors, they do get greedy and they want higher returns. But, this is part of the cycle. And if you can learn, and there are ways of getting around all that, and there are ways of working into the system, you can find a decent house, and make it affordable for yourself. And it takes some doing, it takes some looking, but I think if people get a little smarter, if they start teaching kids early in years, in high school, in college, if they start teaching them how to go out and buy a home, what to look for, how they can afford it, I'm in the business, and I had a call, somebody wanted to buy a $165,000 home, making $48,000 a year. Now, $48,000 a year to a lot of people,
damn good money.
It's damn good money.
Most people will never see $48,000 a year.
That is correct. But, I was trying to convince this individual he couldn't get into a $165,000 home. I was trying to show him, based on all his other bills, people are not realistic either. If they start teaching them early, and they start teaching them how to get creative, how to learn how to buy in general, I think this problem will resolve itself, because the banks, the mortgage companies, sooner or later, they're going to realize that people are not going to go for this any longer. They claim they're making it easy for people, $4,000 or $5,000 down. That's baloney. It's not. If you're not making a decent wage, if you're not making over $40,000 a year, you can't get into a house for $50,000 or $60,000 without struggling. And for them to be so ludicrous, so silly, to make a mortgage loan to someone that cannot afford a home, and then have to go back later on and take that home back, they're defeating their purpose.
Serves nobody's purpose whatsoever. Tampa, I thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob.
Be good. 990-9352 in Hillsborough. 461-9352 in Pinellas. If you're just kind of joining us and wondering what, pray tell, could possibly be going on, Lassiter went out and started looking at homes this week. Oh, my God. I didn't know. Honestly, I did not know what these suckers cost. unbelievable.
Have you fallen into any of the real estate shorthand, like handyman special? If you own your own construction company, you may make this thing livable.
Well, even somebody as naive as I knows to stay away from things like, fixer-upper, handyman special, great starter home, that type of thing. I just don't want. I don't feel like cleaning out the chickens. I prefer one that's already been cleaned out. John Richards standing by at the WFLA News Desk. Donald, Mother's Day, which of course is coming up this coming Sunday. So basically what I have to do is tell you what I know about the Oric vacuum cleaner. It weighs 8 pounds. It'll outclean anything you've ever seen. It is an incredibly simple machine, very, very easy to service if and when it ever needs service. And one of the neat things about it is that it comes with a spare belt and instructions as to how to, raise and lower the brushes so that you can do most of your own maintenance yourself. Because they don't really expect it to ever need any maintenance. But if it does, you're in and out in no time at all. The Oric vacuum cleaner. You have to go to the Oric Floor Care Center to see it. 13230 North Dale Mabry in Tampa, or 2454 McMullen Booth Road in Clearwater. If memory serves me, and this is a very, very risky thing to do, you can save about $70 this week on an Oric vacuum cleaner, which will put it something in the neighborhood of around $230, give or take. $1 or $2 or $3. Don't hold me to it, but it's close, okay? It's within $5. I promise you that much. And tomorrow we'll have our glasses on and we'll be able to tell you precisely how much it is. The Oric vacuum cleaner. Back to the phones we go. Tampa, you're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hi, Bob.
Hi, Tampa.
This is Chrissy. It's the first time I ever listened to your show, and I thoroughly have enjoyed it. On a positive note, let me tell you what I've went through. I'm self-employed. I make about $17,000 a year. I'm 36 years old, and I went through the same experience about 2 weekends ago looking for homes. Now, when I was about 21 years old, I messed up my credit. So other than that, I've got bad credit hitting at my door. On a positive note, what I personally feel that I have to do is save my money and invest in some land and then build what I want. And I've heard a lot of good raps back and forth here across the lines, but I feel for everybody. I know what they're going through, and basically I'm going to get off the line because I've been holding for about 30 minutes so somebody else can talk.
Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Bye-bye. Off it is now to Tampa. Hi, Tampa. You're on the air at 970 WFLA. Hello, Tampa. Tampa once, Tampa twice. Tampa, such is life. The newest member. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, the newest member of the Dog Meat Club. Let's try this Tampa line. Hi, Tampa. You're on the air at 970 WFLA.
Hello, Bob.
Hi.
Interesting program this afternoon. Heard you started coming across the bay. Wanted to call in and talk about houses, but the callers precipitated something about jet engine noise. Runway noise.
Yeah.
Well, it seems like the engines make two kinds of noise. One, if it's a military engine, then it's called the sound of freedom, and if it's a commercial engine, then it's called the sound of industry and tourism. How do you like that?
Well, not when you live at the end of the runway. I don't like it.
Well, take your choice. You want the sound of freedom or the sound of tourism and industry? But anyway, talking about houses. There are a couple of 3 places that are a lot less than the prices you see around in Tampa. If you take a look at Alaska, Texas, and Oklahoma, you get a lot more money. In fact, it's probably about 60 cents on the dollar because it's a depressed area. So I'm thankful that I'm not living in a depressed area.
Well, I guess you're not living in Brandon or Carrollwood.
No, but if I were living in Brandon...
You'd be having a tough time selling your house for a profit if you did.
Well, no, I don't see it. I'm in the business, Bob, and I can see that the houses in the Brandon area are running about $50, $55 a square foot. South Tampa and the Peninsula area, south of Kennedy, north of Gandy, between the two waters, something like $80 a square foot.
Well, sometimes something like $200 a square foot, too.
But then you're getting on the water.
No, you're a half a block, 3/4 of a block.
Okay, well, that's close enough for it to be considered, along the bay shore. And it is expensive. But then, the marketplace is real fair. It's my theory that the
marketplace is not fair, sir, because we are not building houses for the average worker in this state.
Bob?
I'm deeply insulted because I was looking at a house that cost $300,000 that I thought maybe was more like $135,000. But, I can afford to buy a house. But most people can't.
Well, but Bob, see, I agree with you, and I don't say most people can't, but a good portion of people that have a desire to buy a house find out, like the young lady said before, I screwed up my credit. The mortgage broker, she was fair and square. There are probably 40 houses in the Hillsborough County, 40 residential, let's say townhouses, or houses that are
40
very
houses
small.
there in a county of damn near 1 million people, half of whom can't afford to buy a house? Hey, ain't exactly great numbers. I stand on what I said. Without any cute things about runways.
When news happens in Clearwater or anywhere in the Bay Area, hear it first on News Radio 970 WFLA. Our newsroom never closes.
News Radio